Hey everyone, Alex here. I just wanted to do a little post-eclipse check-in. We just had our full moon in Pisces this weekend and total lunar eclipse. And, it's eclipse season, so there's a lot of things happening, a lot of change happening for a lot of people. As I'm connecting with folks, it definitely seems like it's a mixed bag. Some people are actually benefiting from this change. Other people are really seeing the floor begin to fall out from underneath them. And, other folks are just having a mixed bag, which I think is pretty typical. And, so I just want to support you guys and hear how things are going for you. Welcoming your questions, your comments. I have some cards for us, so I will get right into it. The first card I have for us is the King of Swords in reversal. And what I'm really getting from this particular card is, with kings, there's always a sense of mastery or external mastery, but in reversal, it's sort of like, how have we mastered the shadow in a way? And, in this case, it would be communications or, these more mental, logical barriers to connection. And, so I'm thinking of the King of Swords here in reversal as sort of keeping that space between you and other people. It could show up as defensiveness. It could show up as miscommunication, or, this sort of capability that people have to create a logic around a feeling instead of feeling their feelings, keeping things mental when they need to be felt or understood from a different place in the body. So this may be you, or it also may be someone that you're experiencing conflict with, or anybody that maybe is going through a rough time and you're having difficulty connecting. There's this level of keeping people at arm's length, or again, hiding behind some logic, or hiding behind sort of a barrier of one's own making. There are ideas to penetrate. There is the mind that needs to be met, I would say disengaged in order to be met. And the energy that we're moving into is the Two of Cups in reversal. So there is actually this way in which this energy is showing up in relationship. And so the Two of Cups in reversal, sometimes that's like, if you have a partner or partners, it could just mean that you're going through a rough patch, and it's important for you to really look at this connection as a mirror, as your medicine. What is this showing you about yourself? We have the Devil reversed in the past. So this is like how our fears, being reflected in these conversations. How are you defending against your fears, your deeper fears? I was even just talking about today, in therapy, about the fact that my youngest doesn't want hugs anymore in front of the school, because they're older. And, and the therapist was like, yeah, well, we have to think about, are we hugging for us, or are we hugging for them? Maybe they don't want a hug, and I was reflecting on, why I do that, because I remembered hearing about a school shooting, years and years ago, and one of the parents talking about, how they didn't leave on a good note that morning, and that there was maybe a bit of an argument. And so that's something that always sticks with me. And while I think that's a good reason to, every day is a good reason to connect with the people you love, that you don't need, some tragedy to make that important. But it did make me think about that is really a fear-based. That's like, there's a fear that is leading to that desired experience for me, right? So it helps me to kind of let go of that and say like, all right, well, maybe there's some other way that we can connect that feels more authentic and not, forced or like some performative act, right? And so this was sort of my thinking. This is how I'm applying, not to like get into the details of my life, Lord knows. But just kind of thinking about where can fear be met with a deeper sense of freedom? Where can fear be met with a mirror? And, how are we getting in the way of ourselves and our own experience on this earth with each other? Which is what it's all about. It's the path to the self, and it's the path to, creating a greater sense of connection with the people around us. The good news is, through this process that does perhaps happen through a relationship that is mirroring our struggles, it could be any relationship. It's just the one that's really like, what are you struggling in right now? And then you're moving towards the sun. We've got the sun in the future. And so we are really getting a sense of ourselves in that, our true selves, our true expression. Like, what do we need to express? What needs to come through us in those moments of where the medicine is working? What needs to come through us? What needs to be released? What needs to be not just expressed, but illustrated? How are we moving through the layers of ego and coming into this deeper sense of self? That's what we're moving through. What is, the sun to me is just about life and affirming life in our day-to-day, choosing it in a way that feels like it hits home. And, and finding that in darker places or more difficult places is real work. And, that's where, that's what we're doing right now. It may connect with family because we've got 10 of Pentacles in the background. So, or in the north, sorry, we may be dealing with family. We may be dealing with people we live with. It's more close quarters. This is also a connection to our legacy, our home. So I would look at, yes. So for me, it was like, this conversation about one of my kids, but, maybe there's, someone that you share a home with or are, in family, either blood or chosen family that is, acting as that mirror for you right now. We've also got the Hierophant covering or unifying this reading, and I would say that there are deeper spiritual teachings connected to this experience or this period of sort of like, and it's initiation, but through loss or through the loss of self in order to regain the self. The Hierophant is really speaking to our relationship to spirit, to things that we have been taught. So this could be our childhood conditioning, or it could be deeper spiritual teachings trying to move through us. So one or the other or both. Usually it's both because we have to let go of a conditioning in order to draw in, a spiritual teaching that is really meant for us. Excuse the sirens in the background. That is where I live. That's that. It's a very important message. So our advice is we've got the King of Wands in reversal. We've also got Justice. So this This is interesting because I think that we've been in a period where sort of like the bullies are getting their heyday, you know, like people who have gone about things, again, like sort of mastering fire in that negative way, you know, people who have benefited from destruction, people who destroy in order to achieve, or people who don't consider long-term consequences. There's a level, or maybe they do, but they are not really concerned with the destruction connected to that. There's this external mastery of it, and it's this understanding of, you know, the King of Wands should be a brilliant artist, but in reversal, you know, it's like so destructive and could be total egomaniac, you know, madness. This is paired with the card of justice. So I do think that this energy is meant to balance. If it is rampant, not just in your, you know, society at large, which it is, you know, it may also show up in other more subconscious ways. It may show up through, again, through loved ones, or through, you know, people who are close to you or in your neighborhood or whatever. I mean, this could just be showing up somewhere for you, more personally, that there's a sense of justice here, that there's a destruction that is moving, a destructive presence that is moving through the collective right now, that we are meant to react to, and we are not reacting impulsively. We are reacting in a way to balance that. How can we bring balance to the situation? How can we bring reflection? You know, to balance that energy out, it would be, you know, purification. It would be clarity. You know, how do we, reflection, honoring feelings, which are the things that's sort of what is getting wiped out in this reading, is like the space of feeling. How do we reclaim the self, you know, in the face of cruelty, abuse, you know, verbal, physical? How do these things show up? How do the echoes of these things show up for us? How do we balance it out? Those are really the questions right now. So hopefully this is not like actively happening, and more maybe a reflection or a meditation on how have those things impacted you in one way or another. And how can you bring some balance there? How can you reframe or redirect that energy, or the story that lives in your body, your mind, into something that is a more healing narrative and an empowering one? That is what I'm looking for you. Okay, we're going to do one more card just because. Oh, the good old, well, we're going to do two more cards. The Three of Swords. There are some difficult things happening right now. Okay, so go easy on one another. The Three of Swords is an invitation to, you know, maybe cut some cords where you need to. Walk through trauma where you need to. Cry the tears. Rip off the Band-Aid. And pulling alongside of that, I think, is actually a nice card, even if it's a difficult one. The Eight of Swords in reversal, which really speaks to the wisdom of our spirit to break us from the prison of our mind and to bring us forward. I really love how this reading talks about how we face fear. How does fear do the driving? And how can we actually face it and understand it and move through it? It's actually very beautiful. So I like this a lot, even though it's perhaps painful. So again, considering, how does fear show up in our lives? How does abuse show up in our lives? Whether it's things that we've done or things that we've experienced, decisions we've made, behaviors we have defended. There's a deeper reflection here around that, and how to let these things, just like, how do we like not have our body hold these things? So the sun is on the other side. The sun is shining on the other side of this cloudy rainstorm that is the Three of Swords. So, and that's where we're headed. Justice is where we're headed. Balance, beingness. And the path there is painful. Sometimes it's easy. Usually it's painful. I hope that it is not too painful. I hope that you have that clarity and understanding, that you can move decisively, with peace on the brain, okay? And purification of the spirit. I'm sending lots and love, lots of love, lots and lots of love to you. And, we have another one coming. So I will talk to you before then. All right. Bye-bye.